Good morning, guys. Today's video is going to be for those of you 60 or older that are looking at retiring on just Social Security. We all know saving for retirement is getting more and more difficult due to low-paying jobs, rising inflation, and high rents, making it harder and harder for people to save any money. Well, this video is for people that have little to no savings for retirement. Hopefully, I can give you a few ideas on how to prepare. But first off, I want to let people know that this video is not for those of you that do have large savings account and were able to invest for whatever reason. Please refrain from coming to the comments. Unless you're going to offer some helpful advice, please practice some humility, because so many people come and just want to say, hey, I did this, and my life is grand and wonderful. And that is good, but this isn't the place for that. This is the place for people that are already feeling a little insecure and they're worried and they're just looking for some ideas. So they really don't need to hear from those that aren't in the same position, that don't understand. So I would appreciate if those of you that aren't in that position, if you want to just watch, that's fine. But there's no reason to shame or blame anybody for not being in the same position. That's all I'm saying. So before we get started, if you are in that position, if you are 60 and older, maybe even in your late 50s, and you don't have anything saved and you're scared, you don't know if it's doable, it is. It is doable, but you are going to have to make some changes. And it's going to depend too a lot on how much you're going to be getting, because we're not all going to get the same. According to studies, the average Social Security payment is between $1,600 and $1,800 a month for a single person. That's doable depending on where you live and depending on your expenses. So you need to prepare ahead of time. Find out what you will be getting, how much your monthly check will be, depending what age you're going to draw. I highly recommend, if all you're going to be living on is Social Security, you hold off as long as possible till 67, 68, 69, so that you get the max amount. Now, I know a lot of people suggest you retire early, and if you have money in the bank, absolutely you should, because time is valuable. But if all you're depending on is your Social Security, you need to get as much as possible. So you're going to have to hold off. Some of you do have some savings, and that's great. Hopefully it's enough to supplement what you're going to be getting, the difference, in your budget. And you need to prepare ahead of time. Write out your budget. What are you spending? What are your costs? Inevitably, the highest cost is going to be your rent, your housing. Even if you own a home, you still have taxes and insurance and maintenance on it, and it could run just as much as renting an apartment. So be prepared ahead of time. Make out a budget, what you're going to be bringing in and what's going out. And you might have to find that you're going to have to cut a lot of what's going out. You're just going to be able to afford the basics, because you need a roof over your head and you need to eat, and you're going to need some utilities. You may not need cable. You may not need internet. You may not need a car. If you can go without those things, it's going to make a big difference in your monthly budget. But it's all personal choices, what you think you can and can't live without. I highly suggest, if you're getting ready to collect Social Security, no matter what age it is, you start applying 3 months ahead of time. Don't just wait until you're out of a job and you're ready to retire and then go do it. It takes a while to get the ball rolling. So at least 3 months ahead of time, you need to go in and get the ball rolling on that. Okay, once you've calculated how much you're going to get every month, then you can, work out a budget according to that. And like I said, the first thing is going to be rent. If you can't afford to live on your own, then you need to start looking to find a roommate, whether it's a close friend or a family member. You need to do that as soon as possible. I don't know if I would recommend just advertising for anybody, in the paper, If possible, I would highly recommend somebody you know, and preferably a family member, but again, that's a personal choice. You decide what would work for you. Not everybody's going to be able to afford rent. They're possibly going to have to look into living in a van or an RV. It's just a choice, it's a possibility. If it's between that and being homeless, you might want to consider it. But there's still cost to that as well. It's not going to be free. Nothing is going to be free except for being homeless. And that's what we want to try to avoid here. We want to see if what your options are. Now, something that I preach about and I think is very important is maintaining your health, because if you're unhealthy, that can be a very big expense that you may not be able to afford when you retire. So it's very important you work on either getting healthy or maintaining your health, whatever it takes. If it's a matter of losing weight, changing your diet, exercising, bringing down your blood pressure, getting off medications. These are things you need to start worrying about as well now. The sooner, the better, because you will save a lot more money if you're healthy. That's going to take up, prescription drugs and doctor's visits. Even if you get Medicare, you still will have an expense to pay. So I highly suggest you start working on that as soon as possible. Obviously, the most important thing I think is not having any debt. Make sure you pay off as much of your debts as possible. Hopefully, you have none going into retirement. You can't afford to. So, yeah, start paying off your debts as much as possible. I know for some of you, that's not even an option if you're already living paycheck to paycheck. But hopefully you can at least put some money aside and start paying that down, because it's going to make another huge difference not having any debts. And if you're in your early 60s and you're not going to be retiring until 67 to 70, you still have time to invest. You could still feasibly get some money just out of your investments. I would suggest getting a consultation with a money guy. We did that years ago. You don't have to hire somebody full time. Even if you just go in one time, talk to them and they'll help you out. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of things like we didn't know, and they'll help you with that. Maybe you can open an IRA. There's just things that you still have time to do, and if possible, look into those type of things, because you never know. If you decide to work while you're collecting Social Security, you can make, I think, if you're 62, you can make up to 22,000, maybe more a year above your Social Security, which would be nice. And if at all possible at this point, if you could use, one income to pay for your expenses and then use the other income to either save or invest, you could accumulate quite a bit in 3-4 years. You might, be able to create a little nest egg. So consider doing that as well. Also, you might want to consider, if you do retire, let's say you wait till 67, 68, whatever, you can work at that point. Once you reach your full retirement age, there's no cap. You can continue working and bringing in money. And that would be my suggestion. That's what I plan on doing. I don't want to start getting my Social Security until I'm 67, but hopefully my health will hold out and I'll be able to work beyond that and save some money. For me, time is very valuable, but when you're in that position, you don't have that benefit anymore. I'm not trying to be a downer, but that's just the way it is. So at that point, we have to figure out how to pay the bills if we don't have large sums of money in the bank. We do have some savings, and I know some of you do as well, but anything can happen. Anything can happen and take that away, and then you will just have Social Security. So prepare for that now. It's always nice, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. So yeah, if you can continue working, if your health holds out, I highly recommend doing that for as long as possible. Sure, it would have been nice to not have to work, but that's not where we're at. So we're not even going to talk about that. We can't go back. We can't change the past. We can only go from here forward. And that's what we need to do. Look at our options from this point forward. I'm sure a lot of you have some great ideas. I know most of us in this generation, we're pretty frugal. We were raised that way. It's just the way we are. So I'm going to assume most of you are pretty frugal, as I was. We all spend things on different. We have different choices. Some people will say, "Well, you shouldn't buy that." Well, you shouldn't buy that. It's just a choice, and nobody needs to tell anybody else what they should or shouldn't spend their money on. But you know what you can and can't afford, hopefully, and you can save accordingly. So it's just these are things that you need to start thinking about now. It's never too late. Some of you may have very minimal social security. I'm hearing from people that are blowing my mind because they're living on less than 1,000 a month and they're doing it. So if you want any encouragement, go online, type it in the search engine and YouTube on people that are living below $1,000, and you'll find out it is doable. But you got to make some changes, more than likely, and you'll find some great options. So don't freak out just yet. If you're, scared and you think it's hopeless, it's not. But you just have to change your mindset. You're going to have to make some changes, and you're going to have to prepare. And hopefully, it's not too late. For me, I am trying to avoid breaking down and crying all day. My daughter and granddaughter left this morning, and I had a good ugly cry for about 20 minutes after they left. And I thought, okay, Dawn, pull yourself together. This is not going to do you any good. And it was so important to me to have all my family together this weekend. And I was so lucky. And it made me appreciate what's most important in life. And it's not money. Money is a very important tool. It's going to make you comfortable. But there are things that you need to work on: sense of community, your relationships with friends and family, your health. These are the things that are going to make your retirement years more enjoyable. But without money, I don't know what to tell you. You have to have money. That's just the way it is. But some of you can get by on very little. Some of us require more. It just depends what your needs are. If you have a lot of medical bills, you're going to need more money. So you need to start figuring out what you're going to need and start preparing now. I'm sorry this video isn't any better. I was going to write it out, but like I said, I spent most of the morning just being really sad and trying to get over it. And I thought, you know what? Maybe if I make a video, it will help. I won't feel as sad, but it's not working. I still feel sad. And I think what I need to do is get outside. It's beautiful out. It's sunny. And maybe I'll go for a walk. If I do, I'll take you guys with me. So if you guys are getting ready to retire and you have some great advice, I'm not talking about you that already did everything great and wonderful. I'm talking about those of you that are in the same position. You're going to be on a budget and you figured out some great ideas that would be helpful for the rest of us. Please share them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And for those of you that are refraining, that are practicing a little humility, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. The rest of you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you in the next video. Take care, guys.